guys are ridiculous. These guys are ridiculous.
Now, how about them damn Celtics?
Welcome back to somewhat of an emergency episode. It's kind of a trade happened, so we're here to talk about it. We were about to do a podcast, and then this happened. So Grant Williams got traded to the Dallas Mavericks in a sign-and trade with the Celtics and the Spurs. The final haul of the trade is Grant Williams goes to the Dallas Mavericks. The Celtics get 3 second-round picks, and the Spurs get a pick swap in 2030, presumably from the Mavericks, and Reggie Bullock as salary matcher in the deal. I hate it. It's a terrible day. Anybody who listens to the podcast knows that I'm a big Grant Williams fan, and this feels like the Celtics losing a high-level rotation player for nothing, because that's exactly what it was. Grant's new deal with the Mavericks is for 4 years and $54 million, which is $13.5 million, which is a great contract for a player like Grant Williams. Shout out the Mavericks. I wrote a Mavericks grade the offseason article. I have to go edit that and give them an A+ or whatever for this, because I mean, this is just the Mavericks traded a pick swap, Reggie Bullock, and a couple seconds for Grant Williams. Like, that's a phenomenal deal. And the Celtics just lost him for nothing. I saw a tweet. Sorry, I'm rambling to start this because I'm mad.
This is your stage. This is your guy.
Terrible.
He was taken to the woodshed and traded for nothing, like you said. So go ahead.
Ridiculous. I saw somebody on Twitter, Grant Williams fan club, who I follow closely on Twitter, nice guy, tweet, maybe it's just me, but the Celtics have no dogs on the roster now. They traded Marcus and Grant in the same offseason. And as much as I don't put, obviously that's not the end all be all, but what are we doing here? It's crazy to me that the Celtics didn't match an offer or weren't willing to match this offer. They probably it feels like they set the number okay, we'll match anything for the MLE, but anything above that, which this is only 1.1 million above that. They were that's their hard line. This, as much as people at the start of the offseason reported that money doesn't matter to ownership, this feels like money mattered a little bit to ownership. And that's kind of shitty, because they let a high level player go for nothing. And the only logical explanation is probably they didn't want to pay that money, which is shitty. That sucks.
Well, I think it's not the best that they let Grant go. Here's why. First of all, they didn't really have a contract that was impossible to match, like you said. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
That is free. Now, they must get a trade exception from this, yeah?
Only $6 million. It's for half of it.
Okay, that's lame. So
Yep.
Instead of being able to fill the entire $13.5 million or whatever it is, right? They can fill $6 million. They get 3 seconds, which literally who cares? And then Grant Williams goes to Dallas on a great contract that they weren't willing to pay. Now, It does not come as a shock because of the Porzingis move. We all kind of knew something was going to happen with Grant, because at the end of the day, there just weren't a lot of minutes left for him to take. The problem is, the Celtics
reading
Woj second rounders now.
I'm reading the Woj thing. Okay, yeah. Boston and Dallas will each receive 2 second-round picks in the deal.
Even better.
That means
less
not
compensation for Grant. Good.
Okay, sick. Awesome.
But anyways, Grant goes to Dallas on a good contract. Celtics let him walk. The big problem with that is Al Horford's not getting any younger. Now, this is not Grant is the starting lineup Horford successor, because that's Porzingis. He is when Al Horford is eventually too old man Al Horford successor. He's going to be able to fill in and do what Al is going to be able to do as he ages out of the league.
It's Porzingis, you're saying?
No. If Grant was to stay on the Celtics,
Okay.
which he's not,
okay,
he would have eventually taken over that rotation role that Horford will have behind Porzingis. Essentially, Grant's role would have never changed. He would have had 1 year of being the understudy or two until Horford starts to decline, because
I saw
Horford's not going to be effective forever.
I saw people tweeting no, this makes sense. He didn't really have a role with Porzingis in town. Yes, he did. That makes no sense.
This season, he might not, but going forward in the future, he does. And as far as the second apron is concerned, I'm not really convinced that it's that important.
Bobby Marks just put a tweet out. I'll read it out. So this is how the Grant sign and trade affects each team involved. We only care about the Celtics for all intents and purposes. Trade exception created roughly 6.2 million. Useless. That realistically, that's useless. That's nothing. Keeping Williams at the same salary, like what Dallas signed for, would have cost an additional 40 million towards the tax for Boston.
Who cares? Don't care.
I don't personally, but like maybe that's the reasoning. I don't know. This sucks. It feels like the only way that it would make sense and it could like be all right is if the Celtics have more moves coming. Like maybe they know a guy they really want for the $5 million MLE and like that's what they're getting under for. And on top of that, they're like, okay, maybe we have another trade in line, but in order to do this trade and still have the MLE, we kind of need to let Grant walk. You know what I'm saying? Like if there are more moves that follow this, like say they have a Brogdon trade in mind and they get a decent player, say in some magic fairy world, they're like, oh, we can get Dame now for this and this and this, and this is how it works. Maybe that's it. Like, I'm not saying that's it, but if there are more moves past this that they needed to shed this salary and get these seconds for, it'll be more palatable for me. But if this was purely a tax move because they don't want to pay Grant that salary, that's shitty. That is not win now. You are losing a rotation piece, even if he didn't have a huge role because Porzingis is there. Your bench isn't all that right now after trading Marcus and now trading Grant. You effectively lost like two. Obviously, you got Porzingis, right, for Smart, and that's fine. You just lost one of your top 8 guys for nothing. That is what just happened. They like that. Well, and even the people who dislike Grant, because there's the whole memes we've seen come across Twitter for the past 2 years, the past day. Sorry, according to league source, Celtics will get 2 second-round picks and a 2025 pick swap in the deal. So it's the third second rounder is a pick swap second rounder. Who cares? Dumb. But
literally, who cares?
You see all these people joking on Twitter about Grant being at the white shirt party, right? Like, oh, this guy sucks. Why?
Yeah, you were really mad about that.
Well, I understand the joke.
It's not that deep.
It's I know,
just a joke.
No, it's just a joke for you, but it's not a joke for a lot of these people on Twitter. I see a lot of people on Twitter saying this guy shouldn't even be in the NBA. Why is he at this party?
Well, now he shouldn't. He's not on the Celtics anymore. We can trash him. Yeah,
but like. All these people saying I saw someone on Twitter say Brad would be a god to get a first for this guy. I'm like, how are we not understanding that he's like a legitimate, like a legitimate rotation piece? That wasn't cool. He gets a first because Grant's leaving anyways. That's cool if he gets a first because this guy sucks, which I have never got the Grant hate, especially when you're losing a player for nothing. This is a guy that just shot 40% from deep like 2 years in a row and is a multi-positional defender. Those don't grow on trees. That's not something you just find in the NBA. I'm not saying he's perfect. Obviously, we make all the jokes because he can't really dribble the ball because he's not great at that. He's not great at that. But 3-and-D players who can guard multiple positions and shoot 40% from 3, there aren't a lot of those. There aren't a lot of those in the NBA. And to lose one for nothing, and now your best backup wing on the bench is Sam Hauser, who is a fine player. Fine. Like, what's your big man depth now? It's Rob, Porzingis, Al, Cornette. That is how it goes now. And on the wing, it is Jason Tatum, Jaylen Brown, Sam Hauser, and then it's Brogdon, Derek White, Pritchard. Your like depth just took a massive hit with this trade. Like Grant or not, he was a top 8 player on a title team, and you lost him for 3 seconds. That's a terrible trade if your goal is to win a title next year. It's awful.
Well, who knows? They might not be done making moves just yet.
Yes.
But as it stands on July 5th, not the best. I hate second-round picks. They just got 3 more, or like kind of 2.5. Like maybe they'll get the third one if they decide they want to swap.
Love second-round picks. That's what we've learned this summer.
And, Jack, I kind of wrote about this today on Hardwood Houdini because I did a grade the trade for a hypothetical, which is essentially the same trade. Celtics get 1 second round on this one instead of 2. And I said, personally, I hate the idea of losing Williams for a second-round pick. He's more valuable to the Celtics than that, even though he's very easy to pick on and make fun of. There's no disputing that the 24-year-old has played a fair role in Boston's recent playoff success, which is true, to your point. Of course, it's easy to point to his 27-point performance in Game 7 of the 2022 Eastern Conference semifinals, where he drilled 7 threes, blah, blah, blah. On top of that, even in games when he's not doing much scoring, he helps the Celtics with his switchability on defense and competitive mindset. So they do lose a lot of tools for a couple second-round picks. They did not get priced out of this. This was just being cheap. Mm-hmm. The CBA has...
Unless they make another trade. That's the
CBA has absolutely struck the fear of God into NBA teams that want to pay guys. And again, Celtics don't completely get the fear. I get... Now knowing that the first round picks dropped to 30, did not know that beforehand when we first heard about the CBA. Since then, it's come out. But Celtics don't necessarily have any moves they need to make unless it's an emergency, where Jaylen Brown will be extended, hopefully. Derek White is under contract. Rob Williams is under contract. Al Horford's under contract. Kristaps Porzingis under contract. Malcolm Brogdon's under contract. Tatum will have an extension. That's 7 of your top 8. Rob, did I say Rob?
No, but yes.
Yeah, so that's 8 guys, your top 8 under contract through at least the next 3 seasons. Unless Brown, for some reason, doesn't get extended, in which case he's going to be traded for something. And you're still going to have that guy under contract.
Yep.
There aren't any immediate massive shift moves that you need to make with the new CBA restricting you from trading stuff. It's just not. Doesn't happen.
It sucks. That's the bottom line for me. This sucks unless there's more moves, because you lost somebody who can give you significant minutes on the roster for 2 middle schoolers, basically, is what you got in the trade. It's bad. I mean, this isn't even upside. This is like a little aside thing that Jared Weiss reported earlier today. We're going to talk about this in the pod, but we probably won't talk too much Williams on the pod because we're doing this. Boston was seeking a first-round pick for Williams. That's what he said. And then he also said this was likely the first domino to fall before the Jaylen Brown thing. So I would expect the Jaylen Brown domino in terms of an extension to come sooner rather than later now, because Grant has been dealt with, like the situation is done. So it sounds like this was their priority. Like they wanted to get this done before they do a Jaylen thing, which why does that matter? Like why are those two things intertwined? Again, that just sounds like you're being cheap at that point. Like what are we doing here? It's foolish to me. I don't get it. I don't get why they decided to let him go for nothing. And I will gladly eat my words. If the Celtics pull off a big trade in the next X amount of days, that they get this player and it's great because they traded Grant, I'll be fine with it, right? Like that'll be okay, fine. I understand at least what they were going for here. But right now, I know there's a lot of people on Twitter who dislike Grant that are probably cheering for joy. Why? The Celtics just lost a player who gives them 20 minutes a night for nothing. Why is this a win? Like, why? This isn't even like a haha funny win because I don't like this player. The Celtics just got worse. Objectively, they just got worse. Yeah, right?
Well, again, I don't think the loss of Grant today hurts as much as you go through a season with Porzingis, Horford, and Williams, presumably going to be your 3 big man rotation.
But even so, like even if it's marginally worse this next year and then a lot worse in the future, they still got worse. You still lost a rotation piece.
I think the future stuff is going to hurt when Horford starts to regress. You're going to wish you had him for $13 million. Yeah, to be your bench big guy. That's a big loss, man. Like,
and O'Shea Brissett's fine. He's not a shooter though. People forget
none of these guys they brought in have been shooters.
Yeah, this is bad. There is no positive spin on this for me until the Celtics make another trade. That's my bottom line. And of course, I am a little bit biased, obviously, because I love Grant. But I don't understand how people can look at this trade and call it a win right now, because they lost him for nothing. It's nothing.
Yeah,
right now.
I mean, it's only fair. I lost my guy, you lose yours. Now we're even. Yeah.
What an offseason for us. Look at us. It's like that Paul, the Paul Rudd meme, like, look at us. Who would have thought? Not me. Except it's bad. Except
it's like literally wish I was dead.
This is bad. Oh man. Well, I mean, that's all I got. I'm sure we'll talk about it a little bit more on the podcast, because there will be a podcast out tomorrow morning as you're listening to this, because we're going to drop this ASAP.
Tune in.
That's what we've been doing. We appreciate the support as always. This is disaster for Jack, but thank you guys for tuning in to listen to my disaster. Get us out of here, Zim.
Yeah, thank you very much for watching. Make sure you stick around tomorrow morning. New pod coming out. Much more to discuss. All kinds of interesting stuff. This is the most interesting. But tune in on the YouTube. Subscribe. Hit the notification bell just so you don't miss any breaking updates like this one. Follow us on the streaming services, Spotify and Apple. Make sure you leave a follow, a nice 5-star review, and some nice comments for us there. The socials are at How About Them C's. Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, Facebook is just the name of the podcast. You'll catch any live stream that we do there, as well as the YouTube. You can follow Jack on Twitter at JackSimoneNBA. You can follow me at Sam LaFrance NBA. That's it for us. Bye.